Okay, continue where we left off yesterday. Okay, we'll go back to Megillah, the rest of the dinim of Megillah, after we finish the other dinim, which are very, very important. Okay, number one, even before the Megillah reading, by Ma'ariv, Purim night, which is Monday night, Tuesday morning, afternoon, if you're washing for bread. So in davening and in benching, you say Ala Nisim. Okay? You say it in the brach of Meidim, like it says in the Siddur. In benching, you say it in the brach of Neidalacha. Right? Like it says in the benches in the Siddurim. Now what happens if somebody forgot in davening to say Ala Nisim? So if somebody forgot to say Ala Nisim, you do not repeat the Shemona Esrei. Forgot it, you forgot it. You don't even go back. Once you said the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, then you don't go back, and that's it. Because of that, by the way, there are opinions. The Rebbe writes we don't do that, but there are opinions in halacha that say that what happens if you're running a little late and the chazans are almost to get to Kedusha, and if you say Ala Nisim, you'll miss Kedusha. And if you skip Ala Nisim, you'll be able to say Kedusha with the minyan. So there are opinions in halacha that say because if you forget Ala Nisim, you don't have to repeat the Shemona Esrei. So you say, you know what, skip Ala Nisim, and then you'll be able to say Kedusha with the minyan. But we don't hold like that. A majority of opinions say no, you continue davening, and when it comes to Kedusha, you just stop and listen, and you don't say anything of Kedusha. The same thing is in benching. You have to say the bracha of, the Ala Nisim. Okay, next. No, you don't repeat benching either. Except at the end, by Harachamons, be right before Harachamon, Hu Yizakenu. So then you say, Harachamon Nashas Aladu Nisim Bayom Mahei Kashois Alavesenu Bayom Mahei Bizman Hazeh Bimei Mordchei Ve'Esther. So at the end of benching, by the Harachamon, it says, if you look in the Siddur, it says exactly on the top by Ala Nisim. Then you say, Harachamon Hu Yasalonu Nisim Kamei Shas Alavesenu Bayom Mahei Bizman Hazeh Bimei Mordchei Ve'Esther. Okay, now Shachris, let's go to Shachris. Shachris, the minig is, there's a lot of different customs, what you do. But our custom is that we listen to the Megillah in Rashi's Tefillin. Okay, so now you have the Megillah, you have regular davening, there's no halal. There's no tachnun, but there's no halal. So in other words, what you do is like this. Purim morning, Tuesday morning, there's no tachnun, obviously, because Purim is a Yom Tif. So you have regular davening through Shemona Esrei. After Shemona Esrei, when the Chazan finishes repeating the Shemona Esrei, he says half Kaddish. You read from the Sefer Torah at the end of Parshas B'Shalach. Okay? Vayavei Amalek, it's exactly 9 psukim. It's the shortest possible kriya that exists. Because the Gemara in Megillah says the minimal kriya has to be 10 psukim. Minimal kriya has to be 10 psukim. 3 for each aliyah plus 1 additional one. So the Gemara asks, but Vayavei Amalek is only 9 psukim. How can you do a Vayavei Amalek 9? So the Gemara answers because it finishes a complete thing. Because it finishes a complete thing, so 9 psukim are, but that's the exception of the rule. You cannot have Monday and Thursday, anytime you cannot have a kriya less than 10 psukim. But Purim is the exception. So then the din is also that if somebody was not able to hear Parsha Zachar, for whatever reason it was on Shabbos, they can be Yaitze Parsha Zachar would put him the Kriyas HaTorah of Purim morning, because it also deals with the Milchama of Amalek. So now you have Kriyas HaTorah. At the end of Kriyas HaTorah you say Chotzi Kaddish, like regular, and then you do Hagba, and then you do Glila. Then the question is, do you bring back the Sefer Torah and then read the Megillah, or do you sit down with Sefer Torah and read the Megillah while the guy is holding the Sefer Torah? So the different customs, the Levusha says you bring back the Sefer Torah. Our minig is, based on the Taisus and Megillah, our minig is that we do not put the Sefer Torah back until after Megillah reading. There's a guy that does Hagba, you don't even say Ashir V'Alotzion. Ashir V'Alotzion is after the Megillah reading. So you do Haba, Glila, and then the guy sits and holds the Sefer Torah, and then you read the Megillah. Now, it's interesting, the Megillah in the morning, you also have the 3 brachas. Now there's an argument in Halacha, do you make the 3 brachas in the morning also? Because the question is, do you make Shechianu? Because you already heard it the night before. So it's not a Shechianu, you only make Shechianu once. Let's say Lulav, right? The first 2 days of Yom Tov, you only make Shechianu the first day, not the first time, not the second time. So many poskim, in fact, Alter Rebbe in Siddur, the Alter Rebbe himself in Siddur writes, we don't make a Shechianu. But Tzemach Tzedek argues against the Alter Rebbe, against his grandfather, and Tzemach Tzedek says for a number of reasons you do say Shechianu during the day. And that is number one, because the main Megillah reading we learned is during the day, not at night. Secondly, it says in Halacha that when the guy who reads the Megillah makes the bracha Shechianu, you have to have in mind the other mitzvahs of Purim. Mishlach Manos, Matanos of Yainim, and Su'udas Purim. So therefore the Shechianu of day goes on that also. We learned already the Shechianu, at night you can't do those mitzvahs. They have to be done only the day of Purim. So therefore, the Rebbe says in the Sikha, it could be that Rebbe himself also made a Shechianu during the day. But he writes it because there was no market in Allah, whatever. But the bottom line, our meaning is that we do say Shechianu during the day also. Yes, sir?
Hanukkah, we say Halal, Purim, you know why?
So the Gemara asked the question.
Good question.
It's a Gemara's question.
That's what I'm saying.
The Gemara answers 3 answers. Hello? The Gemara answers 3 answers. One is because the miracle of Purim took place outside of Eretz Yisrael. And as once the Yidden came, obviously Pesach also took outside of it. Once the Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael, any miracle that took place outside of Eretz Yisrael, they did not make a Shechianu. I mean Halal. That's what the Gemara says. Second answer, the Gemara says that the reading of the Megillah is the Halal. You don't have to read Halal because you're reading the Megillah. That itself is Halal. And the third reason is Akata Avda Dachashverosh Hanan. We are still in Golus. By Chanukah, when they rededicated the Beis HaMikdash, they weren't in Golus anymore. After Purim, they were still enslaved to Achashverosh. By the way, there's a halachic difference between these 2 reasons, between the 3 reasons. And that is what happens if somebody is stuck without a Megillah. Do you say Halal or not? If the reason is because the Megillah is Halal, so then you have to say Halal. If the reason is because outside of Eretz Yisrael, because we're still in Golus, then you don't. So Pas can bring down, interestingly, what happens if you're stuck there, put him without a Megillah? They say you should read Halal without a bracha. Because it's a suffix. If the reason is because the Megillah is Halal, but you don't have a Megillah. Yeah.
So the Shechianu on the day, the Chazan makes it, or do we need it too?
No. Chazan makes it, the Bakari makes it, and everybody has in mind, including him, that it's for all those mitzvahs also. But when the guy makes the brachas, he has to have in mind, both times, he has to have in mind he's doing it for everybody, he's being mitzvah everybody, and they're being yitzah. So everybody has to have kavanah that's doing the mitzvah. Okay, there's also, about not doing this with the telephone, all that we learned. Okay. Now there's a mitzvah called Mishlach Manos and Matanos Lavyeinu and Su'udas Purim. Now let's go about Su'udas Purim, it's the easiest thing. Now normally the traditional custom is you daven mincha early and then you have Su'udas Purim. That's the traditional minhag. Shulchan Aruch says, L'chatchila, if you want, you could do the Su'ud in the morning. You don't have to do it in the afternoon. You can do the breakfast. You can have Su'udas Purim for breakfast. But there's 2 issues involved. Do you need to eat bread for Su'udas Purim? And also, are you obligated to have meat? Or at least chicken? So there's a big machlekes in Poskim. The Poskim bring down the different opinions in halacha. Do you need bread or do you need meat? And therefore, the best thing halachically is you wash, you have bread or challah, whatever, and you have meat. Now what happens if somebody's allergic to wheat or the grains or whatever, then they don't have to have bread, and you don't eat bread. But it's preferable to wash and have bread and challah and meat and chicken. There's also a minute to eat kreplach. I mentioned this last night in the class. There's a minute to eat kreplach on Purim. Kreplach is meat covered with dough. The minute in Chabad we eat kreplach 3 times a year. Erev Yom Kippur, Hoshana Rabbah, and Purim. We eat kreplach. Whatever, there's a lot of Kabbalistic reasons for that.
What does it symbolize?
But the whole thing the Rebbe writes in the back is whatever, I don't know. It's Kabbalah stuff. But the Rebbe, there's a story with the Rebbe interesting. That I don't know when it was, but the story is, it's not printed anywhere, but it's Tersha Baal Peh. That the Rebbe was once home and there was no kreplach. It was either Purim, Erev Yom Kippur, Shana Rabbah. So, being the gentleman that he was, he didn't scream at anybody. He took a piece of challah and he made a hole in it and he put meat or chicken into the challah and he covered and he said, we have kreplach. No, it's an interesting lesson. He didn't get upset, he didn't get angry that, you didn't do, He created his own kreplach. He took a piece of challah, made a hole in, stuck it in, then you put the meat in and you have kreplach.
You could be the Suda without bread?
Again, it's machlekes if you need bread or not.
The way that...
What? Halachically, it's best to have bread. And the same thing with meat.
It's a Suda's mitzvah, right?
He also brings on over here. So the Magen Avraham brings down the shittas. Rabbi Yosef says you could be yaitza without bread. Other parts can say you do need bread. Whatever. It's a big machlekes. Huh? It's a Suda's mitzvah.
And Adula Yada with wine. How does it work with regards to the Gezerah?
With the Rebbe's Gzeira? The Rebbe said many times, on Shulchan Aruch it says, by the way, in Shulchan Aruch it says, that how are you Mekayim getting drunk Adula Yada, that you don't know the difference between Orah Ham and Baruch Marchai. So the Ramah brings down, what you do is you drink a little bit extra wine, you go to sleep, or when you're sleeping you also don't know the difference. The Rebbe said, because when the Rebbe made the decree about not getting drunk, the Rebbe made a decree, and it was a very powerful decree. One time the Rebbe said not more than 3 l'chaims, one time he said 4, anybody under 40. And the Rebbe once said, why? Because he thought that people over 40 will understand themselves not to drink. That's what the Rebbe said by Fabrengen. But the Rebbe said that for Bachrim, what does it mean they should be drunk? B'yayin with Yainu Shel Teira, with Chassidus, and the insights, the wine of Teira. So that's the way the Bachrim should be Yaitz in the mitzvah, Mekayim the mitzvah of this Adula Yada. What's interesting though, by the Fabrengen, Purim, when the Rebbe would Fabreng, every year in the afternoon, in the evening, the Rebbe would Fabreng, the Rebbe always said, one guy should volunteer his services to be Adula Yada simply, and to be made to everybody with their obligation. So there's one guy every year, I don't say him, there's one guy every year that was the volunteer. He got drunk and everybody, was fulfilled their obligation. The Rebbe didn't want people getting drunk.
So finally, what time of the day we do the Seudah? Is the Pesach?
Again, Halacha says you could do it in the morning. Traditionally today, most people daven mincha early and then they have the sud afterwards. But halachically you could do it. The Moshe of Purim is Friday, so then you're not allowed to have the sud in the afternoon because of Shabbos. So then you must have the sud in the morning. Huh? No.
In Yerushalayim?
What are you talking about? A few years ago, Purim is Friday. Yeah, but no, it happens though more often because there's 2 others with it. It does work sometimes different. But yeah, a few years ago, Purim was on Friday. Mincha, Tuesday here is going to be 3 o'clock. And the Sudas Purim, that everybody's invited to participate, will be at 5 o'clock. Okay, next is like this. So Sudas Purim, you have to have a Suda. By the way, all these mitzvahs, men and women, are equally obligated, and kids also have to be taught to be obligated and to do the mitzvahs also. Huh? Adula Yada, Well, today, the way the world is, everybody's Ad Lo Yada. Nobody knows if they're coming or going.
You have to stand there.
No, but it's interesting. The poskim bring down, I think in the city of the Ramah brings down that in his city of Krakow, they used to, after Purim, he would send a shliach around the houses in the city that everybody should remember to bench, Birchat Hamazon, and to daven Ma'ariv, because everybody was a little tipsy. In fact, there's a whole thing when the Rebbe used to finish the Shabbos Verbrengens, always Shabbos Verbrengens, a lot of times during the week also, the Rebbe would say right before he was about to make the bracha achrein himself, he said, which means those that have to make an after bracha will definitely make an after bracha. And it was a time, the Rebbe was involved in it a little bit, they were getting a mocker for it. So there was a mocker of this Ramah about Purim, but they found a mocker actually that there were many tzaddikim that would tell the people afterwards, after a Suda, don't forget to make a bracha achreina, because people will forget.